Hi, this is Chris from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from Political Voices Network.
Maggoteers are not as good as Indictment coffee.
I'm sorry, but you won Twitter. Tim Pool tweeted, "You are in a civil war," and you said, "Sir, this isn't Arby's." Okay.
Go like that tweet.
And by the way, I agree with Frangela. There is some conspiracy about Arby's. Who's eaten? I haven't eaten at Arby's since 1974.
Arby's is good.
Who eats at Arby's?
There's one right down the street here that I've been to.
Oh,
yes.
okay. All right. I stand
right
corrected.
on Hollywood.
I stand corrected.
Okay.
I know where that one is.
All right. Hi, Malcolm. Hi. Happy Indictment Week. I hope it's not losing its shiny new car smell for you.
No, because every one of these indictments, it's like having a different model car, right? The first one was sort of like an indictment Bentley, and then this, because it happened in New York City. Then the second one was more like an indictment Ford Explorer because it was all utilitarian and everything.
Yeah.
The third one was like an indictment Maserati because it just Donald Trump all swept in. And this one, I'm trying to get a handle on what this one is. This feels more like an indictment Alabama riot chair.
By the way, somebody, we can quit now doing the Barbies because there was a Fani Willis is your worst nightmare Barbie, and she has a folding chair. Says comes with its own cracker whacker.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. You're right. Indictment 3 does do 185 like a Maserati. This one is like a convoy. It's like 19 defendants. You got your ears on, buddy.
It's a Trump train, right? It's one of those Trump convoys of criminals.
I like everyone
going to bring their Trump votes.
Yeah. I love the ones that put, over Trump Air, just Con Air, and, whatever. Next stop, prison, Trump prison tour. Yeah, Malcolm, this is, the good news I have to say, as it relates to your last book, They Want to Kill Americans, which they still do. But, you look at the scenes outside this courthouse, there's nobody, practically. There's no one there. There's no one, all these mass protests he's calling for and whatever. It's, as you were saying on Twitter, you were retweeting people that replied to Tim Pool. Really? Because to me, it seems like a normal Tuesday. I think you guys are going to have to cope with not being in a civil war, Biden being your president, and Trump going to jail. I don't see any MAGA warriors taking over the government today. You retweeted someone else that said the discourse over Trump indictment on here in a nutshell. And then he bought the garbage bag. Oh, so now it's a crime to buy a garbage bag? No, it's a crime to use them to dispose of the body. Did you just stop reading before that? I mean,
true. I mean, if you listen to what they're saying out in MAGA land, I am so enjoying my visits to patriots.win. That's the old Donald.win website, and they are 500 exclamation points on everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is rigged. Okay, but what I am seeing is that, when you see idiots like Tim Pool, this right-wing, provocateur, go out, and it turns out that 25 times in the last 3 years he's tweeted civil war.
Yeah.
Well, the guys who are calling for civil war are certainly not the guys that are going to get out of their hover rounds and march out of the Arby's and go out and do the battle of Walmart parking lot. They are not at all. They're going to sit here and they're going to complain. Yeah. Now, on a more serious note, and this is what I get paid for, and why I wrote They Want to Kill Americans and why you should read it. All right? It's a terrifying book.
Yeah.
There are people out there who are not running around in hover rounds, who are not, who are not coming to these marches. They're planning terrorism.
Yeah.
And at some point, I am almost certain, because I'm almost never wrong, I predicted the insurrection by 62 days, that there is going to be a circumstance where someone is going to carry out an act of terrorism who has been plotting, the FBI didn't infiltrate, and then the people who are out there calling for civil war will start seeing this as their touchstone to carry out violence. The question is, where and when is it going to be?
Yeah.
Many of these shooters we've seen recently thought it was going to be the kickoff.
Well, as our friend, former FBI guy, Frank Flaguzzi always says, FBI has to be right. Law enforcement has to be right every time. The bad guy only has to be right once. They got to be right all the time, every day, all the time. And that is what's terrifying. You retweeted someone else though that said Tim Pool, who is too frightened to take his hat off, much less leave his podcasting compound, is not going to fight in a civil war. He may convince one of his brainlet fans to do something to get themselves arrested, though. I mean, this guy that just got shot to death by the FBI that threatened the president and Alvin Bragg. I mean, that's why justice is so important, right? It's just to keep sending the message, whether it's the J6 defendants or this guy. Go ahead, keep talking, keep threatening. You're going to end up dead or in jail,
Absolutely. And, I keep talking to you and your audience about understanding meta-narratives, right? That is the giant framework that Republicans like to put around each subject and then try to shout us down with it. You have the ability to use meta-narratives also. When these people start talking about, we want to dismantle the Justice Department, all right? You have to respond with, you hate how America has been run since the time of George Washington. You want to get rid of justice in America for your own dictatorial propping means. Hitler did that too. Then he created his own Justice Department, which allowed Jews to be beaten, murdered, killed, any outlying band to be arrested, and these people go screaming that the very fact that Donald Trump was indicted 91 felonies, any misdemeanor set of your parking tickets not paid, you could be arrested, your car could be seized, but this person is allowed to have 91 felonies, which means they want a separate system of justice. No justice for MAGA, no accountability, no laws. And this is where you have to push back on that and say the law is the law. Remember how you said that against Black Lives Matter? Remember how you said that, you were constantly going after everyone with the exception of Donald Trump. So change that meta-narrative in your head, then fight on this, use that meta-narrative reframing to stop their rants.
Malcolm, I want to, lean on your experience as a terrorism expert and analyst on, terrorist groups starting with ISIS right up into MAGA. Dr. Bandy Lee tweeted 4 indictments, 91 charges, 2 impeachments, 1 act of sedition, threatening civil war, 26 women alleging sexual assault, 1.13 million Americans dead from COVID. And he is the front runner of the Republican Party. This is why I call it a collective psychosis. I mean,
absolutely.
What do you do about that?
Absolutely. When I wrote They Want to Kill Americans, and I had to come up with that collective title for them, which I called Titus, the Trump insurgency in the United States. It requires a collective psychosis to believe that none of these are bad traits, but are positive traits for your leader.
Yeah.
This, like those captive communities in the mafia days in the 1920s and 30s, where all you wanted to do was live your life, and then you would have the guys come in and try to intimidate you and extort you for payoffs, and you didn't want to be killed, right, by people who were intimidating you. This is why Trump and MAGA people constantly talk about the Second Amendment. They constantly parade with weapons. This is intimidation. The pushback on that is exposure. You saw when the Patriot Front marched out in Washington State, I believe, or Oregon, it might have been Oregon, and they were intercepted by the police, and then they put up their mugshots. They went nuts and said, you're doxing us and we're losing our jobs. That's what you do to people who are threatening the Constitution. You have to show that you have a First Amendment right to speak as well. You have a right to feel safe. You have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness within the laws. And start throwing that in their face, especially if you're African American. Now you know what it's like to be in the back of a police car.
Yeah. How you like it now, bitches?
How you like it Get them
Let me bring you back full circle real quick before we go to your first book, Plot to Hack America. Pete Strzok said, good chance unindicted co-conspirator individual 20 is Mike Flynn or Patrick Byrne. I mean, here we are again with all the characters from your first book. Allison Gill, who we just had on, said, still conspicuously missing from indictments in all jurisdictions are Stone, Bannon, Flynn. Are they cooperating unindicted to get them to flip? What is your take on that?
That's a good point. Yeah, Allison has a good point on that. And she's brilliant. I would say that they are cooperating, with exception of Flynn. I personally believe, I did a documentary, I participated in a documentary for MSNBC about Michael Flynn when he was Director of Defense Intelligence. And now I believe that man is completely, I want to use a professional term. He is knucking futz. I mean, he is completely off his rocker. Yeah. That man's mentally ill. That's my opinion. But let me tell you, he wouldn't be allowed around anything. Why they haven't brought him in, stripped him of his commission,
Thank you.
And taken his pension away. He is a threat to the United States. And now he's going out there, and he quite possibly will be in the Arizona case, a indicted co-conspirator. Those 30 people in not Arizona, in Georgia, the 30 people in Georgia can still be charged with crimes. My question is, how fast does Sidney Powell throw him under the bus and say, well, I was just, Mike Flynn amplified everything.
Yes.
This is going to be
he was the one saying, send in the...
bag of rats.
Yeah, he was the one saying, seize the machines, send in the military. I mean, again, Malcolm, you don't have to be a legal person to know that that's still a crime. Just because they didn't do it because, somebody thought it was too, what was your, I'm afraid to say it because I'll screw it up and say the wrong word, but,
don't
being
do
nuts.
Try.
Knucking futz.
But,
fight.
Planning the crime and is still a crime, it just and the fact that what's the whole connection with his brother was the one that denied the request for the National Guard to come in. I mean, there are way more boots to drop here, right?
There are, but let's just start polishing the boots that we have right now while they sit on their aluminum toilets in prison and polish everybody else's boots. Because these are crimes. And everyone is held to the same standard. I want to, the sheriff said it himself in Georgia. Donald Trump will surrender at the Fulton County Jail.
Yep.
They will mugshot him. They will fingerprint him. Will they perp walk him? I personally think he will surrender at 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And he'll go to the newspaper
like a coward.
Yeah,
like a coward.
Like a coward.
All right.
But the person who's really missing here, Stephanie, where's Lindsey Graham in this story?
Yes,
that's
I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's what, and Mark Meadows, who knows what's happening? I mean, clearly, and is it possibly cooperating on the federal level, but obviously charged on the state?
He's trying to get out of the state and get it moved to the federal court.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's
claim that
he still can't get pardoned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
we shall see.
Too much crime to keep track of.
Exactly.
But Lady Justice is having a grand old time, and letting down her blouse just to, bear the chest of truth in this particular circumstance and whack them with the scales of justice.
She's like Marilyn Monroe now, letting the justice blow her skirt up.
Hey, I'll pay for an OnlyFans for that.
Love you, Malcolm. See you next week.
Malcolm.
There he goes.
Bye.
There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this, and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry. If I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.